and that will be about Rex Real Estate as an example. So
Yeah.
let me go ahead and share this.
Yeah. Adjustment. Yeah. You going to pull up an article for that, Joe?
I am. I have a couple things that we can look at.
Cool.
But here we go, right? So we're looking at Inman.com, and the title is Demise of Discount Brokerage Rex May Be Imminent, reports indicate. Rex General Counsel Michael Toth did not directly confirm Rex was closing, but blamed NAR and Zillow for the death of its business model and said its suit against both would continue. So you want to unpack some of that, Darren? What's that?
Sure. Well, I think industry-wise, that's typically what happens, and the difference this time is, we'll take the example of 15 years ago when the industry shifted, and there was actually a big price shift in the industry, a lot of foreclosure, a lot of distressed properties. What happened was the discount brokerages started just lining up and going out of business. In this case, it's not that there's a price shift. It's just that there's a reduction in volume of sales. And that's been, slowly leading up to it. There are some other ones we mentioned, like Purple Bricks, who left, couldn't make it in California, or at least LA. I don't know if it was, or in general. Rex.
They're actually out of Britain. And they moved to Australia, and they went out of business, I think.
Got it. Yeah. So, even the brokerages themselves are quite competitive. We were talking about Compass the other day, and on the stock price of that brokerage, how it went down tremendously. That's got to impact their business model and their agent relationships. But as soon as volume goes down, and in this case, I'm sure it happened at one time in the past, but it's a bit of an anomaly where volume has dropped off while prices continue to rise. Usually the volume dropping off is when prices start declining. Right. But it's different this time around. So here we are. Let's see what the article has to say.
Yeah, let's see here. Industry flamethrower, Rex Real Estate may be closing shop. The discount brokerage appears to be shutting down its operations, according to reports from former staffers and a cryptic official statement from the company Wednesday. According to American Genius, which first reported the impending shutdown, Rex experienced 2 rounds of layoffs last year, and staffers reported that a company-wide call on Friday outlined the end of Rex Homes. Rex's offices in Austin and the Woodlands in Texas shuttered on Tuesday, the site said. Several former Rex staffers announced on LinkedIn that they had been laid off as a result of their department or their company itself closing down. After 4 years as a remote account manager at Rex Real Estate, a great startup experience, unfortunately, they made the hard decision to close shop. So I'm looking for another remote opportunity if anyone needs me. I have skills, just a hard, no-nonsense, dedicated worker, read one post from 3 days ago. In an emailed statement to Inman, Rex General Counsel Michael Toth did not directly confirm the company's demise, but blamed the National Association of Realtors and Zillow for the death of Rex's business model, and said Rex's lawsuit against them both would continue. Founded in 2015, Rex began as a self-described disruptor that employed salaried agents, charged home sellers a 2% listing fee, had a policy of never paying outside buyers, brokers, and eschewed MLSs, at least initially. Rex was on path to disrupt the industry for consumers, Toth said. Unfortunately, as alleged in Rex's federal lawsuit, when Zillow and NAR colluded to protect their profits, Rex's innovative business model was sacrificed. The industry could not tolerate consumer choice. As a result, we had to make a lot of painful decisions. According to the American Genius, Rex, which had operated in 19 states, shut down their New York and Chicago offices in October. At the same time, they announced internally that they would be joining MLSs. They called it a restructure, the site said. The joining of any MLS shocked many, as the premise of their structure was always that their magical proprietary tech, as well as their bypassing of the MLSs, could save consumers thousands of dollars. Any other comments, man? I know I've been rolling through this.
No, you're good. Okay. Yeah, keep going.
Rex sued NAR and Zillow in March 2021, alleging antitrust violations for an NAR rule that prompted Zillow to separate non-MLS listings from MLS listings on its website, including listings from REX or Rex. NAR countersued, alleging in part that Rex had misinterpreted its business model or misrepresented its business model, but the court tossed that suit last month. Our case against Zillow and NAR gets to the root causes of why consumers are being overcharged when they buy and sell homes. And we will continue to pursue our claims in federal court to prevail on the merits and collect the damages we're owed, Hunt said. He did not respond to further questions or requests for comment. After 2.5 years of hard work and growth at REX as an inside sales specialist, they have unfortunately dissolved the customer service department, myself included, said another LinkedIn post from Tuesday. Still another red. After 3 years at Rex and almost 2 years in the insurance department, they finally had to say goodbye to the department. At this point, it's unclear why the company appears to be winding down. As recently as March, insured technology financing company PIUS announced that Rex had secured $10 million in funding. The private placement bond was underwritten by PIUS and placed on its evaluation of Rex Homes, intellectual property, IP. The press release said the deal also includes an accordion feature, providing Rex the option to increase the amount to $45 million. And then it says development. And then you've got here some, I'm sure, agents that said good riddance, goodbye. It goes on and on. So
Sure.
I don't think a lot of love for Rex in general in the industry.
Yeah. So, the for those in support of Rex, the obvious comment they'll make about agents is that it's cutting out the agents. For those in support of what I would identify as a higher quality service and customer attention, how do you offer a property for sale without offering a cooperating broker a fee?
Yeah.
I don't see an industry like this going towards salary employees, although that model has lived on with at least one company that I can think of at this point, who's out there and active. But even then, I think like the story I heard recently that was told to us by somebody in our brokerage. A lot of these agents go into these type of brokerages, and this one particular story was about Zip Realty, who went out of business, who was the big discount brokerage, went out of business 15 years ago with the market shift. Was they go to these companies because these companies might source a lot of leads, and they give those leads then to agents, and the agents just get the experience and volume. But the financial model and the success rates are not lucrative for agents. There are much better opportunities in the industry. And those agents just start there and move on. And then you're always having newer agents that work at these companies in these salary discount brokerage models. And so you just don't have the experience that you need in a transaction.
You hit a top, you hit a plateau, and then you're bouncing back.
Well, as soon as you feel like you can do something in this business, then you move on to another brokerage where you can, be more successful in a model that makes more sense.
Well, I think the other thing here too, and I know we've espoused this in so many words, is, there is such a thing as service. There is such a thing as quality. And when you're working with the biggest purchase or sale of your life, your investment, is discount broker really what you want to use? No, you don't. And this was all, you can hear the story kind of going over the idea of the consumer. But really, they're just diving down to the bottom, as you pointed out, not only in service, employees, but ultimately for the consumer. They're not doing a good thing for the consumer.
Yeah, and I saw a pattern repeated that is just so annoying for me personally in that article and the general approach of their lawsuit. And I don't know all the details. Our topic here is about industry shifts, and the lower volume is what's a component of what's pushing discount brokerages out. But the what bothers me pretty consistently is the whole freedom of choice. A lawsuit based on First Amendment rights. So many of these lawsuits that I hear about nowadays,
Hmm.
so many of them in
Right.
all walks of life are about freedom of choice. And basically, what they mean is you can't deny us to give you shitty service. We can offer shitty service if we want to offer shitty service, and you can't stop us from offering it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Fuck, man.
Well, I have to say, you've run into Rex real estate listings.
Yeah.
I've run into them again on a buyer's behalf, and yeah, it's just funky. You can't find it. You couldn't find information on it from the MLS. The consumer would ask you, "Oh, what about this?" And you're like, "What is this?" And then you call up into some 800 line, and they're out in Texas somewhere, and they're like, "Oh yeah, so this is the way we do." And you're like, "No, no, no,
Right.
something's wrong."
Right. There's a big disconnect. It's not fluid.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, it's just different. I mean, I will say this: the industry has had its own evolution
Uh-huh.
it's not a discount brokerage. Often it's a higher price, but what has worked is the invention of teams, big
Yep.
teams
Yep.
internally.
Right.
That's its own kind of little brokerage within a brokerage.
Yep.
And some of the work is fractioned off.
Yep.
But those teams are usually based on a singular component of a local agent who knows what they're doing and have been doing it for a long time. Um, and they understand all the relevant components to be successful. They've been successful enough, at least, that they're
Right.
filling the voids where they might not be the best. And they're actually getting better at all the dynamics in the
Right.
transaction
In the long run, right? Because of that team
and
effect.
the law.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
and when those teams
Well,
get too big, even some of that is lost.
right.
Then it becomes again a little distant, less good, better, not as good a connection and communication. And so
Well, the thing I kind of wanted to close off on this was basically that, Rex is an example. Rex and companies like this, discount brokerages, can't compete in this new change, this new market because, they're dive to the bottom. Their discount attitude about everything was supported when the market was going up. That's not going to work, when you
with
actually
both
have,
prices and volume, it took
yeah,
both.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. Volume, it requires volume. Anytime you want to, I mean, yeah, you can have one person in Texas answering calls for the entire country if you want, I guess, and
right,
you don't need volume.
right,
But at some point, you've got to have some locality. Like
yeah,
the one Rex, the one transaction I was involved in that had a Rex agent.
right.
I didn't even know this. They had one office in all of Los Angeles that served all of Los Angeles. Um, that's not pretty geographically connected. It's a big city. So,
Well, the other thing too, so Rex is one example, but I looked up on housingwire.com just the word layoff. And you see this happening across the industry right now. First with the mortgage industry, again, you're talking the
yeah.
volume, it's not there. On the refis or new home purchases. But it goes on and on here as I looked up, layoffs at Rex Homes. Uh, let's see. Loan Depot reports loss of 91.3 million. I think they also
Yeah.
have layoffs happening. Uh, Finance of America, $64 million loss in Q1. Guaranteed rates owning continues layoffs. So yeah, the market is definitely changing for buyers, for sellers, and as you can see here, the industry. And we're all trying to adapt. Yeah.
Right. Right. So, yeah, who knows what's going to happen with other brokerages? I think, although we're not an insider, and other than the connected articles that we read that are industry articles, there's going to be more shifts. More
Mhm.
shifts at maybe even some of the bigger companies. Like we talked
Yeah.
about some of these newer companies that have gone public recently, their stock prices dropping, along with everything else in
Mhm.
the stock market. But it doesn't matter; they're a new company. It's more relevant for them. It's harder for them to ride the long wave when they're so early in the process. And those companies are going to have shifts. The industry will have more changes over the next couple of years, I'm sure.
So there you go. Industry market and the real estate market hand in hand. as
Yeah.
we move through this.